September 8th, 2025, and a lot's going on in the world. We'll be talking about that here on World Edition. At least 5 people were killed in a Jerusalem shooting. Palestinian gunmen killed 6 people in an attack on a Jerusalem bus stop. So that is something that folks are talking about in the news today. And an Australian woman was convicted of killing 3 with poisonous mushroom has been sentenced. So she's been sentenced to life for poisoning relatives with those mushrooms. So Patterson's been sentenced to life with 33-year non-parole over the fatal mushroom lunch. And Argentinian President Milei suffers crushing defeat in Buenos Aires provisional election. So Javier Milei suffers a stinging setback in those Buenos Aires polls. So Argentina's opposition Peronist Party wins election in that Buenos Aires province. Russia strikes Ukrainian government building in largest air attack of the war. Russia hits key Ukrainian government building for the first time amid a record drone strikes. Russia strikes Ukrainian government building in largest drone assault of the war. And Netanyahu says Israel paying the price on world stage for war in Gaza. Palestinian death toll in Gaza passes 64,000, officials say, after ceasefire talks break down. Israeli military spokesman issues evacuation warning for residents in Gaza City, and Palestinian begins a perilous flight from Gaza City. Tom Callett Phillips, police shoot dead fugitive father and find his 3 children. So definitely looks like the New Zealand fugitive dad was killed by the police, and a New Zealand father who evaded authorities with his 3 children for years is shot dead by the police. New Zealand father on the run almost 4 years with his kid, shot dead by the police in that particular part of the world. White House envoy sends a new proposal to Hamas to Israeli peace activists. Trump delivers an ultimatum to Hamas: accept deal and release hostages or pay the consequences. U.S. put forward new Mid-East ceasefire principles that call for immediate release of all hostages and some negotiations as well. And a veteran Thai politician who helped legalize cannabis becomes the new prime minister in that Asian country as well. So that's something that folks are talking about and are definitely reporting on as well. Prime Minister Beirut says debt load life-threatening for France ahead of confidence vote. So while France's financial woes are pushing its government to the brink, France faces more turmoil with government on brink of collapse ahead of the confidence vote. So European market opens higher as focus turns on French confidence vote and all along those lines. So that is definitely something that people are talking about in the news as well. And the police arrest almost 900 at a London protest supporting banned group Palestine Action. So looks like arrests at rally against Palestine Action ban rise to 890 or close to 900. And definitely that is something that is going on in London. Japan Prime Minister Ishiba resigns after a series of bruising election losses. So Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba resigns, and definitely folks will be paying attention to that as well. There's definitely a lot going on in the global community. Cable broke before the Lisbon funicular crash initial findings show. So cable gave way before the deadly Lisbon crash initial reports are finding, and we'll definitely be seeing what else is going on as they continue that investigation. And Chris Mason, Reform Conferences shows parties growing ambition like never before. So Reform's Farage vows to start preparing for government to make UK great again. So Nigel Farage's party is trying to step out of his shadow. So Reform UK is on the rise. Leader Nigel Farage hopes the Trump playbook can propel him to power. And in Sudan and Afghanistan, disaster upon disaster. Sudanese villagers dig with hands to reach landslide victims, group is saying. And landslide in Sudan's Darfur claims about 200 children as rescue efforts continue, AIDS groups say in that particular case. Statements by the United Nations resident and humanitarian coordinator AI in Sudan, Luca Renda. So definitely lots going on in that part of the world, including like things happening in Africa and all along those lines. So like I said, a lot's taking place, and we're definitely glad to be talking about them and tracking them here on World Edition. Hong Kong schools and businesses closed as tropical storm Taba brushes past. So definitely folks are tracking that typhoon Taba. Hong Kongers return to work as public service resume after a 13-hour T8 as it happens. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. And Putin's petrol state faces a kamikaze petrol crisis. So Ukraine hits the Russian fuel and military infrastructure in a coordinated overnight assault. Ukrainian bombing campaign turns Russia's sheer size into a weakness, and key crude oil distillation units destroying at Ilsky oil refinery. So that's what was being reported by the Ukraine Special Operations Force. And Norway heads to the polls in a highly polarized magnification election. So tight vote in Norway to decide whether to stick with Labour or turn right. So Norwegians are beginning voting in a tightly fought parliamentary elections. Polls will show if Norway will continue to be a social welfare state or not in that particular case. And Israel's Ramon Airport near Elliot reopens after being hit by a drone from Yemen. So Israel is a few days ago had threatened to unleash biblical plagues on Yemen's Houthis, and Houthis drones hit Israel airport after a warning system failure on yesterday and everything like that. So definitely a lot's going on. Guyana's Irfan Ali is sworn in for the second time as president. Oil threat of war and China, why elections in this small South American country are crucial for the U.S. Irfan Ali re-elected for the second term as oil-rich Guyana's president. So definitely we'll see what his relationship will be with the United States as well. As Xi and Putin chase immortality, ponder digital dictators. Reuters withdraws Xi and Putin's longevity video after China State TV pulls legal permission to use it. So organ transplants and immortality, might Xi and Putin be onto something, is what BBC reported last week. So definitely that's something that's going on as well. And home office clear out as Starmer reshuffles his top team and everything like that. So definitely there's some reshuffling going on in that area. Angela Rayner's exit proves it. Unless Starmer is able to meet this moment, reformers on the path to power. So it looks like Keir Starmer's miserable moment in the U.S. has Nigel Farage gloating and all along those lines. An American pilot, Ethan Goy, is released after being stuck off of Antarctica. So U.S. pilot and influencer released from Chilean Air Base in Antarctica. So definitely it looks like he's been released from the Chilean Antarctic detention 2 months after the alleged unauthorized landing. And as LGBTQ plus pilgrims cross the Vatican's holy door, some see a church in transitions. So LGBTQ Catholics had Jubilee with the Pope's blessing, if not his presence, over the weekend and everything. So it looks like they've made some historic pilgrimage at the Vatican. And West Bank annexation may halt hopes for Israeli-Saudi peace. UAE warns Israel that annexing West Bank would cross the red line. So definitely lots going on in the Middle East. And Trump signs an executive order creating state sponsor of wrongful detention designation. So strengthening efforts to protect U.S. nationals from wrongful detention aboard. Trump will be punishing countries that unjustly detain U.S. citizens. Get to just a few items in the U.S., and then I think I've heard a couple of clicks here. Yeah, we've got Nick with me and Sashi. See what they've got to say about a number of these stories. Nearly 500 workers were taken in a raid at a Hyundai battery plant in a quiet Georgia town. The silence is deafening, is what CNN is reporting, as South Koreans are saying they feel betrayed over the detainment of hundreds of workers at that particular plant raid. So there's a raid on the Georgia EV battery plant, raising new risk for a shaken industry. But Trump backed the ICE raid at the Hyundai plant, but says U.S. needs foreign experts to train Americans. And Trump downplays a post threatening Chicago, saying he wants to clean up the city. And there are photos capturing Chicagoans protesting against ICE and Trump's intervention plans. Donald Trump's Chicago meme says, "We're not going to war with Chicago," Trump says after post referencing the Department of the War. and Venezuela to boast troops to tackle drug trafficking as U.S. strengthens military in that part of the world. So definitely there's a rapid U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean, and Venezuela flies military aircraft near U.S. Navy ship for a second time. Pentagon officials have reported that last week. So it's definitely a lot going on there as well. And RFK Jr. says he sees no successes in the agency he leads. So Trump breaks from RFK on vaccines. Pure and simple, they work. Though Roger Marshall pushes back on Kennedy critics in the GOP. And Rand Paul clashes with J.D. Vance over U.S. strike on boat leaving Venezuela. The Trump administration says the boat strike is start of a campaign against Venezuelan cartels. Despicable and thoughtless, Vance drug vessel strike praise was slammed by that particular senator. So legal issues raised by the lethal U.S. military attack in the Caribbean. And there's a video showing the fatal stabbing of a Ukrainian refugee on a Charlotte light rail. So definitely this is right here in North Carolina. Charlotte mayor has issued a statement on deadly cat stabbing, and we'll see how this plays out also. So definitely there's a lot going on in the world, including the Bassat saying Russia's economic woes can bring Putin to the table. And Trump is threatening tougher sanctions after Russia's heaviest strike on Ukraine. So let's bring in my folks, see what they've got to say, including the fact that the Florida Surgeon General denies need for a study ahead of an end to the vaccine mandates in that particular state. Well, let me bring in Sasha Starr, Nick Palveda, Eric Rosner, see what they've got to say about all of this stuff going on and all along those lines. It looks like we got folks in elections around the world leaning to the right. So, sometimes people lean to the left, sometimes they lean to the right, but it looks like they're leaning to the right.
COVID ate everybody's brain. So it's the same thing as, the Spanish flu in 1919 ate everybody's brain. It made everybody stupid. And then so we had a depression, and then we had fascism, and then we had a World War II. So if people are leaning right, I blame COVID making everybody's brains crappy.
So it's all on the COVID, and COVID is still out there, despite what RFK Jr. may be saying. I know that you just had it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, my wife went to Costco yesterday. Everybody's back to wearing masks because the state is saying COVID levels are high, which they are.
Gotcha. And apparently, it looks like we've got some more things with the ICE because it's just insane. It's not normal. Healy responds to new ICE enforcement efforts. So ICE began a new surge in Boston as its deportation machinery hardens into place in New England. I didn't think there was that many foreign nationals in the New England area.
On the one hand, to go back to Trump wanting to invade Chicago. He's a jackass. Crime is down in Chicago, but it's still super killy. I just listened to Morning Joe. They said over the weekend, 18 Chicagoans were shot and 5 of them were killed. So there's definitely a problem. What Trump's doing won't really address that. But, one problem is like Illinois, Chicago, I think is a gun control state. Mm-hmm. But it's right next to all these other states like Indiana and stuff where it's easy, it's easy to bring in guns. It's a shooty town.
Yeah, it hasn't been a shooting town ever since the mafia used to be there. I mean, that's where, a lot of those mafia types were back in the 40s and stuff like that. So definitely there's a number of folks like Al Capone and others that were in that area. So I don't know that it's never not been a shooting town. I actually went to school across the way in Milwaukee. Milwaukee can sometimes be a shooting town as well. Hey Nick, I got a question for you because apparently Bassat, him and Sasha may have some thoughts on this as well. He's the Treasury Secretary and all along those lines, but he's dismissing the cost of tariffs. But he says the U.S. would have to give huge refunds because it is going to the Supreme Court, as you have pointed out, if they're overturned. So does this mean that we're all going to get a tariff refund check and everything like that? Because that's what it seems like he's implying. Because they said if they're overturned, they'd have to give huge refunds.
Well, that's his opinion. Not true, though, because the thing is they can make the rules prospective and not retroactive. So there doesn't necessarily have to be a refund. So they could make a determination that the tariffs should be determined by the states or whatever. They're going to do it on a prospective basis. They actually did that in a couple of cases that we followed in the pension area. They said it'd be too draconian to go backwards, so they actually said we're going to go forwards and not make it retroactive, but make it prospective. But it's a case that we're actually following. It's DeVos, versus Trump, and the real question is whether or not he has the authority as a executive branch member to impose tariffs unilaterally without the approval of Congress under the International Emergency Economics Act. And the thing is, there's nothing that says there's an emergency, and this is the problem with the tariffs, and hence it's really up to Congress to do this, because Congress, remember, is the legislative branch. They're to create the laws, and the Trump is the executive branch. He's to enforce the laws. So he's not to create and enforce the laws, which is what's going on right now. So this is the reason we picked it up. It was shown on Lawyers Den on this network. Lead counsel Jeffrey Schwab made appearance on the Pod TV network to explain his position. Supreme Court has yet to rule on it, but once it does, it will be a landmark case. I give it about 60-40 in favor of being actually in Trump losing it. In other words, because there's no basis really for him to do what he's doing. It's kind of interesting that he's doing what he's doing, but there's no legal basis. So I think that it's going to be a close call, probably a 5-4 decision by the Supreme Court. But once it's overturned, then his big fun game just went away, and I don't know what's he going to do for entertainment anymore. I guess
speaking of close calls and all along those lines, I know that Rick has brought up a couple of times that she has come off in some cases as moderate, and apparently she was interviewed by CBS, that being Amy Coney Barrett and everything like that, and she was largely silent on her views on Trump in her new memoir and everything like that. But she did say that she defended the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe, and that's the Dobbs decision. So she says it seems like she's back in her idea to not have Roe versus Wade and everything like that. So what's your thoughts on Amy Coney Barrett, and have you read the memoir yet, Rick?
No, but I think she's a thoughtful jurist. She has the issue that she was brought on to the Supreme Court to take care of, which is Trump appointed her to be part of to help get rid of Roe versus Wade.
Right.
And she's very religious, and her thinking is going to be solidly anti-abortion. But on everything else, she's a thoughtful jurist. I mean, I don't know, maybe she has some other places where she's just going to, but often she will surprise liberals who think she'd be like conservative across. No, she seems like she takes the job seriously and, tries to rule to be an actual judge and do her job. So
be judicious and everything. I know another issue, because you kind of brought it up earlier, Rick, is this whole notion of the pandemic and COVID and what's going on with all along those lines. There have been a lot of major events. I was watching football and saw a lot of people in the stadium, including doing a rain delay of one of the football games last week and everything, and even the team that collapsed, that being the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills, which I know that up in heaven, our former host, Mr. Tresvant, must be happy, because I remember he was a Buffalo Bills fan and all along those lines and everything like that. But I was just wondering your take, because as I was watching two things yesterday, they both had very big crowds. That was the more than two. The football games, but I also watched the VMAs, and the VMAs had a very big crowd. I believe that was in New York City and everything like that, and a lot of people wearing expensive stuff.
So we're in year 6 of COVID, and every year at this time, COVID levels start shooting up because people in the summer, people are outside. It's harder to spread it outside. The wind takes it away. But when people are together in big groups, like you said, football games or other events, or in classrooms, if you watch the curve, every year there are 2 bumps. There's the back to school bump, late summer, early fall, football game bump. Then it levels off and drops a little bit. And then there's the Christmas bump. And right now we're in the football bump.
We're definitely in the football bump.
I want to go back to tariffs for a second.
Uh-huh.
If some court rules that people do get refunds, it's a mess because the U.S. has taken in so far this year $170 billion in tariffs. And how do you figure out? I mean, remember the last time Trump was president, he couldn't even figure out how to return babies that immigration had taken away from their parents, and hundreds of babies. Like, so good luck the administration trying to figure out how to return nearly $200 billion.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be retroactive. I think it's going to be prospective on a going forward basis. On another light note in sports, you may have seen it's on the internet all the time. A baseball that got hit in the stands. I don't know if you saw this, Mark. And this lady went over there and got it from this other guy, but they don't, and they call her Karen Ball Snatcher because she took the baseball out of, and he gave it to his kid, and then he got it back. But if you look at the full tape, this guy actually ran through 12 chairs to go grab the ball out from her area where she was sitting.
Yeah, but if the ball is on the ground, like she didn't catch it cleanly, she dropped it or whatever, and so now the ball is one step down from her on the ground. The guy scrambles through the crowd, grabs the ball for his kid. And this lady insisted that since she had touched it or some crap, that she runs right over to him and just berates him.
Well, if you look at it from another way, if I'm sitting in a chair and the ball comes in my area, this is where I'm sitting, the ball should be for me, not for some clown.
No. If the ball's on the ground, there's a scramble.
He ran through, I counted them, at least 12 chairs.
Yeah, so he was good at moving. He was.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. If I'm sitting here eating dinner, you don't come running 12 chairs and grab my bloody dessert.
Hold on, just
the real problem that you're having
was the last time
is
went to a baseball
the
game?
sexist nature of the internet.
No, you're.
They're calling her Miss Sharon. And they're not calling him Mr.
Let's talk to the
I respectfully disagree. All the men think that what she did was wrong. All the men think that, but that's not true.
Incorrect.
It's what he did was wrong.
Incorrect.
He ran through 12 chairs, 12 of them.
It doesn't matter.
To get to her area where she was sitting to grab the ball. I'm sorry. You men should be ashamed of yourselves.
Let me show you how.
So Toby, defend this male chauvinistic pig, otherwise known as Mr. Dick.
Because as sarcastic as you are being in your comment and in your actual argument, which is very obviously sarcastic.
I'm watching it right now. He's not running.
She was within her right.
Hold on.
Wait. I just watched the tape. It's playing.
Let me point out.
He didn't run. He walked over.
How many chairs did he walk through to get to her chair?
Can I point out something? Hello.
Wait. Let Rick answer this question. How many chairs?
It doesn't matter. That is not.
Was it next door? Was it in his area?
As a person who goes to sporting events regularly,
it wasn't. It doesn't.
You two are arguing nothing. You two
are arguing. Hold on a second. Toby's right. He goes to sporting events regularly.
Male chauvinist pig, and all the male chauvinist pig should defend him. Wait, Toby. Since you're a male chauvinist pig, come with
everything like that.
Can I answer?
Please.
So, just to point out, when a ball goes into the stands or out of the stadium, there is no zone that is regulated to an individual person. That doesn't mean anything. You're just making that up because you want to create some bogus argument just to argue. There isn't anything there. So when a ball goes into the stands, what ends up happening is anybody can go for that ball. It's a free ball. It's in the stands. It has nobody's name on it. It has nobody's zone on it. It doesn't matter if somebody climbs 12 chairs, 30 chairs, 50 chairs, comes across the stadium from where they're not even sitting. It doesn't matter. What it is the ball is in the stands. The people go for the ball. Whoever comes out with the ball, it's their ball.
That's
It
right.
doesn't matter, male, woman, whatever. It doesn't matter if transgender. What it doesn't matter.
You're legally and
Wait,
ethically wrong,
Let me
Jacoby.
finish my point.
No,
please.
it's not.
You're
wrong.
legally and
Let me
ethically
Finish the
wrong.
point.
I will
Let
explain
me finish
afterwards
my
why
point.
your
Let me finish
legal
my
argument
point.
failed.
Hold on.
Let
Here's the
me. Can
comment.
I
I'm here to
even
defend
finish
her.
my point?
Go ahead.
So again, when the ball goes in the stands, it's anybody's ball. What ended up happening there is, as you saw, just like in any baseball stadium, the ball went in the stands. Multiple people went for the ball. The lady did, the guy did. There were other individuals that were there that were going for the ball. The gentleman came out with the ball. Once that happens, it's dead. It's over. The guy went and handed it to his child. The mistake that she made is that she got upset. She went over and started berating the individual, took the ball from him and his child. That was where the mistake happened. Then the mistake in actual Facebook and all the social medias, yes, it became a joke. Yes, that's fine. She should not have lost her job. She should not have all this
I
other
don't think she did. Did she? I don't think she's even.
Evidently, the rumor is she's lost her job over this whole
Well, no,
situation.
she was misidentified for a while as somebody else. And then
all that stuff should not have happened. What should have happened?
No, you're legally
Let me read a
incorrect.
comment. Let me read a comment.
I would expect to win the
Let me
case
read
in
a
favor
comment
of
off of Twitter. The ball was never in that crazy lady's hand. The dad fully
That
secured
doesn't
the
matter.
ball. And you know
It
why
does
that
matter, Nick.
bee couldn't grab the ball? Because she had her effing cell phone in her other hand, and they run it in slow motion. If the ball's on the ground, it's anybody's.
Doesn't matter.
If you catch it in your hand, what people get pissed is if somebody has it in their hand and somebody grabs it out of your hand, that's bullshit. But she never had it in her hand.
That doesn't matter.
Yes,
That
it
doesn't
does.
matter. You guys don't understand the law. The law on
There is
that,
no law.
she has an implied right.
There is no
She has
unwritten
an
rule.
implied
There is no
right
law.
to
The
her
law of
seat in
the
the
law
area
of the land
around
as a
her
person
seat.
who is there
So
on a
if she
regular
puts
basis.
her purse down, Jacoby,
No,
if she
Nick,
puts
you're
her
just
purse
making it up.
down,
You're
she
making
puts
it
her
up.
purse down, and this guy comes 12
Doesn't matter.
12 chairs over and
Doesn't
grabs her purse and said,
Doesn't matter.
Will, I grabbed your purse
They didn't even talk
because
to her.
you put it
Doesn't matter.
down. Guess what? That's
Doesn't matter.
stealing, Jacoby.
No, you're
That's
just making up
stealing.
stuff now.
I
You're
would
just some
expect,
kind of argument.
I would
It doesn't matter.
expect
You're just making
if
up
she
stuff.
were to take this to court, she would win it because of her
No, she
implied
wouldn't. You know
legal
what the funny
rights,
thing?
legal
You know the
rights
funny
to
thing?
her
Nick,
chair
Nick,
and the surrounding
Nick,
area. And
Nick,
you male chauvinist pigs are
Nick,
going to go
you
down.
make
You
hell
know
quick.
what? You know,
By the way, we wouldn't even make it to
wait,
trial.
No,
We wouldn't even make
here's
it
the
to
thing.
trial. It would be summary
Hold
judgment.
on.
You guys
Hold
would
on, it
lose.
is over because and we're making up arguments just to argue. This is just dumb.
No, it's not arguing. It's
No,
not
it is.
argue. This
Yes,
is
it is. Listen.
really good stuff.
The lady
No,
went
it's
over
terrible
berated the
stuff.
father.
It's on the internet and shows how
The lady
bad
went
the
over-
internet
The
is.
lady went
Sasha
over and
knows this is bullshit. He's sitting
It
here
is.
saying we should be discussing bigger
yes,
stuff. But
the lady
one
went
thing-
over, berated the
wait,
father, got the
This
ball.
is great
It was
stuff.
dumb.
wait. You know who knows baseball? Professional baseball.
Has nothing to do with
And they
baseball.
saw
It's
what
implied
happened.
legal rights.
Also, the sportscaster.
There was no
Doesn't
right,
matter.
The
Nick. What are you
sportscaster
talking
saw
about?
the baseball
Doesn't
team
matter.
saw it, and they
If
made
I bought a ticket, I have
Be
implied
quiet
legal
for a
rights to my
second.
seat
Nick, hold
in
on,
the
Nick. You're
area
just
around
arguing
it.
just to argue.
Sorry.
The lady got the ball.
Doesn't matter.
The lady got. You're arguing for her to get the ball. We tell you she got the ball. Now you want to argue saying it doesn't matter.
No, I'm arguing. I'm arguing that guys like you got it wrong. I mean, the thing is, the
Nobody
internet
can
got it
know.
wrong,
You're
and it's based on
All right,
male
we gotta move on.
chauvinist.
I'm going. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go on mute until we actually talk about something.
Get a group of women here. Wait, we got 6 guys. Where are the women?
All right,
Get a group of women here, and see if they agree with
They
it. I doubt it.
choose not to hear our yelling.
Okay, but the deal is the sportscasters, they zoomed in on that. They said that's bad behavior from the woman. The baseball teams themselves.
Was that a male baseball announcer or female counselor?
It doesn't.
It does matter.
That's
It does
immaterial.
matter. There's big gender bias in what you just witnessed.
All right, let's move on to some other.
Yeah, let's move on,
You're just
please.
going to keep
Yeah.
bullshitting us for the sake of controversy. All right, what else? We got Tom.
What's got
Let's talk about
destroyed?
Tom. All right, let's talk
You have
about
anything from Canada or Asia, Mark?
Huh?
Anything going on in Canada, Asia? Maybe we should ask the people in Canada and Asia. We'll start with the Asian.
What's happening?
Anything going on in Bangladesh and Asia, or are you guys all quiet?
Right now, after this relationship in between Asian market, uh, even though with this China and India relationship, lot of good things happening. Beside that, we are observing with India, Donald Trump also making good relationship. So it may give some positive momentum in between global North and global South relationship. Beside that, I just want to share a good news that what we are doing, my World Talent Economic Forum, with IIT, India Institute of Technologies. This month, we are launching our program, what we call CEO Development Program. So definitely, uh, Rick Rosner, Nick Palveda, we bring you in our team, and we will develop 500 startup. And in this program, basically, 30 million people will join in this religious fest. It's called Kormo Kormo Yud. It's a more spiritual activities and startup development program. And 3,000 corporations from around the world they are joining, and World Talent Economic Forum also collaborating with these things. And hopefully, through this process, we can develop a great startup ecosystem, and economically, it will be very great opportunities for around the world. So those who want to improve economic situations, want to contribute new economy, engage with new startup, new idea. Definitely, you know that South Asia has billions of people, and it's a very good place for investment. You can join in our ecosystem. We call it startup championship. All of the big company like Tata, like Reliance, like many large company from around the world, they are also joining to supporting this startup ecosystem. Definitely, Pot TV, I already mentioned, will be partner for our ecosystem. So what you are trying to develop, uh, the great audience, like the great speakers and all of the things, you will get through our program. So I always focus on good idea. I always focus on good solutions, and I always welcome my friends to involve with productive activities. So hopefully that will be a good solution for global peace and global economic solutions. Thank you.
Appreciate it. What's going on in Canada, Sasha? Anything major in the Canadian news? I know that we've got a drone attacks left and right from both sides in Ukraine and Russia. And of course, you talk about that regularly on Tuesdays and everything. But what's shaking in Canada, as Nick just asked you?
Well, Canada is involved in all those tariffs negotiations, and there are several different issues. It's very difficult to describe it within 5-10 minutes, uh, but the process is going on. And Nick, I wanted to ask you if there was already a ruling of the court in US that all these tariffs are illegal. Okay, we are waiting for Supreme Court decision, but let's put it aside. The ruling that they are illegal, then, and let's see, just for the sake of argument, that Supreme Court will keep the same ruling that yes, the tariffs are illegal. So then that makes the collection of illegal tariffs make all this activity illegal, and therefore they have to be returned to the sources where they were collected, or there has to be a special ruling not only that they're illegal, that they also must be returned. How does it work in your opinion?
Well, yeah, but who knows what they're going to do? But my thinking is that they're going to rule them illegal going forward on a prospective basis, but not retroactive. You know, if they did retroactive, that's going to cost the U.S. government a lot of money. In other words,
But the ruling of the court that we already have, we can speculate about Supreme Court ruling. It will happen soon anyway. But the existing ruling is that they are illegal, full stop, period. Illegal gains is a punishable offense. So if you've collected some money illegally, not only that you will be punished for that, but you also have to, of course, return all the illegal gains. Doesn't it come to your mind automatically?
Well, it all remains to be seen. I mean, this will be up to the Supreme Court. Like I said, we caught it. Like when we scour all the Supreme Court cases and appellate court cases, or a lot of them, and that one, when I looked at it, seemed to have the most merit of all the stuff I saw. That's the only reason I invited Jeffrey Schwab onto the network, because that one looked like to be the one that was most problematic, and it has appeared to be what I thought most problematic for Donald Trump, as they lost in the trial court, lost in the appellate court. Now will be going in front of the Supreme Court. Now realize, because it's political in nature, the Supreme Court could rule in favor of Trump. There's a 40% chance they would say, well, it's because Congress was dormant and didn't say anything, that they're going to allow this to stand. Seriously, the dormant commerce clause. Okay, there's a 40% chance they jump to that argument. Or they could say it is illegal. There was no emergency, and hence, now how you can do it on a going backwards basis, I don't know. On a going forward basis, I don't know.
We'll serious for 5 minutes. Now let's get back to the stupid bullshit. So Trump went to the U.S. Open yesterday, and he instructed the TV networks to not show him being booed. The U.S. Open's in New York, and New Yorkers don't particularly like Trump. So they weren't allowed to show the booing. When the booing started, Trump does a thing. He claps for himself, and he says, thank you. And that way, if Fox wants to drop in the few people that are cheering, Trump acts like he's being cheered when so that's just stupid Trump bullshit. More stupid Trump bullshit is every year, West Point gives an award to a civilian who has supported the troops and veterans. And this year it was supposed to be Tom Hanks, who's supported the veterans, who's portrayed, Band of Brothers, Masters of the Air, Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan. He's supported veterans for decades, and for his work on behalf of veterans. He was supposed, anyway, because he's a Democrat, Trump shut that down. They're not going to give the award this year.
So Trump shut that particular one down and everything?
Yeah, Trump. We know why there's not a memo, but we know that somebody from the White House made a phone call.
Trump shut down the Tom Hanks Award, but it wasn't Trump that actually said for the U.S. Open not to cover it. It was the U.S. Open because they didn't want him there. One, they didn't really want him there because then it becomes political. But then they didn't
not
want
only political, but having the president there meant that they had long lines where everybody got wanded. So people.
It caused a delay. It caused a delay in the games and everything like that.
Yeah, but they also told they didn't want any coverage shown of him. So it wasn't Trump that said don't show him. It was actually the U.S. Open that said.
Well, that makes sense, because if they did show it, then the White House could go after that network. Because he has a record so far this presidency of going after the TV networks that he doesn't like.
Yep, he's authoritarian and a propagandist.
Well, speaking of propaganda and all along those lines, and this is one of them lighthearted moments again. Well, not overly serious, but it is somewhat serious. Don't people watch the news or watch commercials? Because there's a commercial that's out there that's the guy, I think it's an insurance company, but he's basically wreaking havoc. So he's basically talking about mayhem, right? And one of the mayhem commercials is a kiss cam and everything that causes mayhem. And now we've got an astronomer and definitely an astronomer and a person that was working with him that is now filing for divorce because they got caught on a kiss cam. Don't folks know that those kiss cams are out there, and don't they follow the commercials and everything? Because that's the whole nature of the mayhem commercial. But apparently Kristen Abbott.
But let's talk about the mayhem guy, because he's very slightly controversial right now. Because Spike Lee has a new movie out, Highest to Lowest, starring Denzel Washington. Right. And it involves, police eventually show up in the movie, and one of the cops is Mayhem, is the guy who plays Mayhem in the commercial. And somebody on Twitter is saying, not going to lie, I find the Allstate Mayhem guy being in highest to lowest distracting. And which is BS. This guy has been in a lot of, he's a great actor, but he's part of a minor controversy right now.
Oh, speaking of minor controversy right now, the LBGT community stuck themselves in the foot with the movie Lightyear by Pixar because they had an LBD2QIAXYZ girls kissing each other in the movies. Well,
No, they didn't.
guess what?
You haven't seen the movie. You don't even understand the controversy.
14 countries banned that movie. They asked them, could you please remove it because it has no socially redeeming value whatsoever, which I agree, it has none. And so what happens is they said, no, we're not. We're going to stick our LGBTQIA up your rear. And the country said, no problem. We will not allow your movie Lightyear to be shown in our country. 14 banned it. And I bet it's a lot of Muslim countries also that banned it, and rightfully so.
You know what's interesting?
This is just another way that they're sticking it up everybody's rear. It's disgusting.
No,
it's a woke agenda.
You don't
and
understand.
frankly, I'm tired of listening to it. I won't take my kids there. Neither would Spike Lee. Neither would Snoop Dogg.
Nick,
no one would go to that stupid
hello,
movie.
Nick.
Don't
Nick,
go.
do you understand that movies get banned? Do you understand that video games get banned in other countries? Do you understand that, for example, Call of Duty, one of the #1 video games out there, got banned in particular countries for particular reasons? It was covering different parts of the society that they didn't want covered. Do you understand how that works?
Yeah,
but I guess not, because you were arguing. You were just now trying to create some controversy.
You're trying to stick your stupid American culture up everybody's rear,
Nick,
and they're not interested in your stupid American culture.
Nick, when did Lightyear come out?
2022, 3 years ago.
Don't know.
3 years ago. Okay.
I don't know why we're talking about it.
I mean, it's because Nick is trying to make some controversy out of something.
It's not controversial. They just ban it. It's real simple. Just don't watch the
hold on.
And it just shows again this woke agenda. It's U.S. garbage trying to be exported on ways.
Nick,
I have the box office numbers. I have the box office numbers. Lightyear in 2022 made 118 million in the U.S. and 108 million across the rest of the world for $226 million gross. And according to Wikipedia, it actually lost money because it cost so much to.
It was Pixar's movie. It was actually the explanation of why Buzz Lightyear was Buzz Lightyear. That is what the movie is about.
Okay, let's say if that's the movie. Why are we going to have two lesbian couples jump into the movie?
You're not even listening, are you? You're not listening. You know,
if it's supposed to be for kids,
2 years and one
what are you doing sticking a bunch of lesbians on the movie?
You're wanting to create some controversy.
Come on,
I would like to explain again. What Rick said is very true. We're talking about a controversy from 3 years ago that got re-upped because people are trying to distract from anything they can from the Epstein list, which is
this is as bad as Epstein, isn't it?
So hold on, Nick. Let me finish, Nick.
Yeah.
You don't know about the movie, yet you're crying about the movie. You've never seen the movie, yet you're crying about the movie. You didn't even know the controversy about the movie, yet you're crying about the movie. You didn't know why it got banned from these other countries, yet you're crying about these bans. The problem with your whole argument is you're uneducated on this argument. So you're sitting here ignorantly yelling about this movie. And then on top of that, you keep yelling out, oh, it's two girls. No, it wasn't two girls kissing in the movie. Again, you're ignorant on this movie. You don't even know what it's about. So why are we even talking about it?
Did they kiss? Like I think they an apartment. Like I don't know that they made out. No,
they did not make out. There was no making out in the movie. What ended up happening is there's a mom and another mom that are the captain who looked up to Buzz Lightyear when Buzz Lightyear first traveled outside of space, and then due to time dilation, that was the explanation that they were trying to explain to the kids of how space travel works. So due to time dilation, when Buzz Buzz Lightyear came back, the little kid that looked up to him was actually older now.
And it was like, yeah, a senior executive in the
and was
space
running
force.
the actual company, had a daughter who actually had a wife as well. That's all it pointed out, is that, hey,
Nobody was making out, but
again,
it's just a woke agenda promotion.
What it is,
and so the thing is, it's been banned in many countries.
Hold on, Nick.
It had no business being in a child's movie.
Nick, speaking of woke,
it's just like
major star. Hold on.
Why do we paint pride flags on?
Mark, can I point this out? Can I point this out real quick?
DeSantis got rid of
it. Now, Nick is up here trying to pull something up from 3 years ago to try and
I'll talk about something now.
Nick, let me finish. Let me get to my point, please. So Nick is trying to come up with some point to distract from everything going on because, one, Trump's numbers are falling, but also we just had RFK last week have one of the worst hearings on actual on the Senate floor. Then Nick just wants to hold up his Miami cup, but hasn't even talked about how the doggone Surgeon General of Florida went out sounding like a pure idiot, the idiot that he is, when he talked about, well, we need to go ahead and pull all these vaccines. Why? Because we don't have any, we don't want to use data to prove that we need to pull all these vaccines. We just want to pull it because, hey, we want to give parental rights and it's the right thing to do. That is one of the dumbest arguments you can have, talking about Florida, where Miami is. But Nick, you don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about a movie from 3 years ago and not something that just happened a week ago.
What happened a week ago too?
Hold on a second. Hold on.
Before we move on, I want to mention why did Lightyear underperform? According to Deadline Hollywood and Variety, it's because it premiered against Jurassic World Dominion and Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, it was going against two major movies and everything.
On top of that, animated movies don't do
all that. It would have been destroyed anyway. I mean, the thing is,
roast almost a quarter.
It would be snow woke all over again. I mean, the thing is, most of the Americans and most of the rest of the world is not agenda.
The funny thing is, Snow White.
They're not interested in your woke agenda. And if you want to talk about something today, you can talk about all the pride flags that are being erased. There are roads in Florida. By the way,
much rather I would much rather have pride flags and vaccines than a dude just holding up a cup supporting an area that keeps pulling vaccines for kids.
It's the U baby. But see, you decided to get rid of the pride flags that are crashing the Florida road.
I got a question for you and everything, because there was a group of folks that are not quite MAGA, but they used to be like MAGA, but apparently it's the latest group, and apparently he's talking to them right now that Trump is going after. So I just wanted your thoughts, since you are definitely a supporter of rights and all along those lines. But apparently right now President Trump is delivering remarks about religious liberty while he's also doing things with the folks that are immigrants and everything. So I was just wondering your thoughts on his appeal to the moral majority, because that's what I think he's trying to do, is go after the moral majority crowd and everything like that, which is similar to MAGA, but it's not quite MAGA. So he's making remarks about religious liberty as he's sitting in D.C. So anybody got any thoughts about him trying to appeal to religious folks, even though I think he held the Bible upside down when one campaign event?
Yeah, also he talked about 2 Corinthians, right? He doesn't, which it's 2 Corinthians. He doesn't even, he claims to be religious and love the Bible. He's never read the Bible, and he makes dumb mistakes in his.
They don't have the Bible on Epstein Island.
Oh, they had a Bible on Epstein Island?
They don't have that on
Epstein Island. But realize the arguments were years ago, and you got to go back decades ago, but not that far.
We have Steve here.
We'll have Steve, and then I'll tell you what happened. Yeah, Steve, what's going on in the Tower of Power in the D.C. area?
Well, I'm supposed to go there next week. I guess the main thing is that it's just everyone's looking at midterm elections coming up, and I guess the big issue is the vaccines, and I think that's kind of the big fight around the Senate, and I think that we knew this was coming. It shouldn't be a surprise. We knew RFK was always against vaccines and don't really quite understand the rationale for it. Although high risk people will be able to get it, but it's definitely such a divided country. So I'm looking forward to getting up there. And I had Ro Khanna, United States Congressman. He wasn't able to make it, but he did a virtual event for me, endorsing me for commissioner. And he's been in charge of the Epstein files, very in charge of economic development and technology and innovation, represents Silicon Valley. And so it's been very interesting to see his observations of what the Democrats have to do. And I think it's bringing the country together, getting back on message, working across the aisle to get things done. And that seems to be very difficult. And, that's really all I'm hearing out there right now down here in North Carolina. Cooper looks like he's going to win the primary. The election, at least the nomination, and we'll see where it goes. I don't know if Mark Lee has any additions here.
Just really quickly, how many debates are you averaging? Because I know that we actually had one on Wednesday at Hayti with all of the 3 ward candidates as well as our mayoral candidates. So I just wondering how many debates are you averaging per week and everything? It looks like we're averaging about 3 or 4.
They haven't really started the debates. There's lots of precinct meetings I've been attending. I'm going to a church event today, town hall meeting by Dan Blue, and going to a county commissioner work session. Just getting out there, getting my endorsements lined up, and getting ready for going through that endorsement process. Right now, all focus is on the municipal elections here, even in Morrisville. First time I won't be on the ballot in the city for 14 years, so it's a bit stressful, but also kind of a little bit more relaxing. And I'm looking forward to, projected to win the commissioner's race. But if not, I'm looking for a little bit of a break. I miss my media a lot more than I thought. I don't know. I've been on PTF every now and then. Haven't appeared on PBS in a while. I'm not sure whether they're taking a break just because I'm on the ballot. But I did get published in Fox News, and hoping to get some national press from that. But I'm here, so thank you. Yeah, and there was also some thing going on in France with a no vote of confidence for the prime minister, and just there's a lot going on. And also, the final thing I'll say is just a lot of concern about India here. India, U.S., Modi, China, Modi with a picture with the Chinese premier. Not good, and Russia. So this could be the 3 new evil powers. Not evil powers, but just opponents of the U.S., where there's seems to be more opponents than allies at the moment. And of course, we're continuing to keep our eyes on Ukraine and the Middle East.
Right. So to get back to Trump at this religious thing, he's giving remarks at the Museum of the Bible. And he says, we are one nation under God and we always will be. So I looked it up. The words under God were added to the Pledge of Allegiance by President Eisenhower in 1954 as part of the Cold War, where the Soviet Union was cracking down on religion because the Soviet communism was atheistic. So it was adding under God to our pledge was a Cold War move. And
that's not the only Cold War move. I believe that's also when we added the phrase that is religious on our coins. We didn't add that till much around that same time, and everything.
Yeah, it makes sense. We were fighting the godless communists.
Right. So that's around what time we added it on the coins. Hey, Sasha, just really quickly, because I know we've got the economics coming up in about 5 minutes, but since Steve mentioned some of the things he's been on, I do know that tomorrow you've got a major event as well, because you are always doing a great job here on Pod TV, but you've got another appearance as well. So if you want to share folks here about that appearance that you'll be making, I'm sure folks would be interested about your appearance to talk about the Ukraine war on Mr. Peters.
What can I say? So far, all I know is that I have a link to participate in there. Now, what is going to be, how it's going to play, remember it's a taping, so when it's going to go live, I don't know. So to tell you the truth, I know about that probably just as much as all of you. Not much more. Now, about speaking about Ukraine, Russia is testing now how far they can go unpunished by bombardment of Ukrainian cities and killing innocent civilians, children, women, elderly people. But it's even more important for them to kill people, although it is very important for them, mind you, is to destroy buildings in Ukrainian cities, to make these places unlivable, to make a Gaza in Kiev. That's really what they're after. But you see, because of the Gaza situation, you can see Palestinian demonstrations all over the world, and everybody's talking about it. In Ukraine, when the city are being destroyed and people killed, no one gives a damn. No one, no leader, nobody else in the world is mindful about that.
Just to push back on that a little bit, there's a difference between so the people see that a lot of people want to support Ukraine. You have the other country leaders trying to give money to Ukraine, trying to support Ukraine. You have people coming out. They had been protesting. Yes, there were protests even here in North Carolina around what was going on in Ukraine. What's going on now is that people are upset at our leadership for not being as supportive. So with Ukraine, and that's because of Trump and everything that he's doing. Now he's kind of changed, but there is support for Ukraine. With what's going on in Palestine and Gaza, you don't have that same support. You don't have countries giving money or sending money to the people of Palestine. You don't have that. So you have people protesting and trying to fight back against that. So it's two different things. And yes, both people support Ukraine. It's just that you have some people in leadership, like a Trump, who's a puppet, who's been more leaning towards Putin and trying to propagate that. You have some MAGA that have now switched over to supportive of Russia and so on and so forth. But people in the majority in the U.S. support Ukraine. That's not the same for Palestine. So you have people protesting to get the word out about that. And you have people more educated about what's going on in Ukraine than what's going on in Palestine and that war there. Because the main thing that people support in the U.S. is Israel.
Okay, a question to you. Zhitovi, are you aware that just a few hours ago there was a terrorist act in Jerusalem? And
it happened at a bus station, and they're still counting how many people the death toll is rising.
Yes, and Hamas took responsibility for that act.
Yep.
You aware of that?
Yep.
Okay, so then what do you think Israel will do in response?
What they are continuing to do, which the UN has said what they are doing is tantamount to genocide. You have other countries that are saying that they have broken laws to do what they have done and what they have continued to do. And this is why you have people standing up and fighting, because what's going on in that situation is a problem and needs to be addressed. And people are trying to equate and demonize the Palestinian people. They're trying to equate them with Hamas, which they are separate. They are separate people. Hamas is not Palestinian, and Palestinian people are not Hamas. We can be educated enough to have that conversation. And we also can be because this is a very sensitive topic. We can also be educated enough to be critical of what Netanyahu is doing, without saying that because you're critical of Netanyahu, you hate all of Israel. That's not true. People are very supportive of the Israeli people. Hence the reason why even the Israeli people are protesting Netanyahu and what he's doing. So it's a tough discussion.
Yeah, I know that. I would like to tell you that in your logic, Gestapo was not all Germans, and all Germans were not Gestapo. So once you try eliminate fascist regime, you have to go after Gestapo as, but not against all Germans. But you know what? It didn't really work well during Second World War, is it?
Your references to saying that not all Germans were Nazis, and not all Nazis were German. Blah blah blah. It's the
Send me
same.
the economics link. I gotta go. Thank you.
So it's just one of those tough discussions.
I know.
And it's just one that we have to be able to have on that higher level and be able to agree on some base level things. And once we can agree on those base level things, it makes the discussion easier.
Okay, what I will propose for our next debates that the world order set after Second World War, 1945, is completely been destroyed in the last years, specifically by Russia more than anybody else. So therefore, in a new world order, which is either already formed or about to be formed, the only reasoning is a power, is a raw power. So here is a bigger and stronger country fights a smaller and weaker country. The law is on a bigger army, although it doesn't work that way in Ukraine-Russian conflict yet. But supposedly it should work. If it would have been the case, there would be no need to fight anymore, because the bigger and stronger will always defeat the weaker and the smaller country. But look at what happened in Vietnam. Was Vietnam bigger and stronger than US? Probably not. But US couldn't win the war.
Let's continue this later, because I got to run to an 11 o'clock meeting. But I love you, Tasha. We got to talk more.
As well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.